Hey guys, welcome to another exciting episode of the Mumspring podcast. With you in the studio today is Michelle and
Abisola.
Yes, we're back from break. I hope you guys do not miss us too much. We had a mini break just to recuperate and gather our thoughts and gather all our mummies and stand in the battlefront together. So, why are all of you looking at me like that now?
So we took a break so we could review, the season so far and get feedback from our moms and make the show
that's gathering the
more
battlefront.
amazing and better.
That's gathering the battlefront.
I guess I just didn't understand.
Wow, guys. Wow.
Yeah.
I feel attacked.
I mean, is it obvious I'm the posh one and she's the,
Okay. It's cool. Today we're going to be talking about something pretty interesting. So we're talking about founders and funders. So of course now you guys know that we bring you the baddest in the game with all the women and all the mothers. We're having women.
I've got two amazing mothers today. One is a founder of a clinic,
Don't make me.
a fertility clinic. She's helping other mothers. A mother who's a founder is helping other mothers. Oh. And then another one who's a capital allocator. She owns a fund and she funds founders. Should be an interesting show.
Okay guys, so on that note, we shall get into the episode.
Welcome to the Mumspring Show. Welcome to the Mumspring Show. Let's stay together. It's the Mumspring Show. It's the Mumspring Show. It's lovely. It's lovely. It's the Mumspring Show. Welcome to Mumspring.
It's the Mumspring Show, where anything is possible.
Candy! Candy! Candy!
Hi guys, welcome back. So we're going to be talking just like a roundtable discussion more or less with Abisola and Toby. And we're just going to be discussing funding for businesses, for women in particular. People are always really a bit, would I say, reserved when it comes to talking about funding for their business. Everybody just wants to, hustle, save, and then start something. But then there's a part of scaling the business that you just might need investments for. And I've heard plenty of investment terms in the last 3 weeks that I was just like, what's this? There's equity, there's what's the other one? There's seed fund, Series A, Series B, Series C, Series D, Series E, Series till we get to Series Z. I'm like, okay, which other one? And there's now some of them even have sub-series on that as they have children. I'm like, well, then I've heard equity, then there's debt, I'm like, okay, so
There's quasi-equity.
there's what?
Quasi-equity.
Okay.
It's kind of equity, but not fully equity.
Huh. So if you're as clueless as I am, because honey, this is investment for dummies, because that's all. In fact, let's just call this segment investment for dummies, because right now I am clearly the dummy. If you're not a dummy, I'm a dummy, so it's okay. Abisola now is the one who understands all the investment terms, then she just used to just give it to us back to back.
Is that really how it feels?
Yes, now. So when I'm trying to explain to somebody else, the person's like, "What are you saying?" I'm like, when it made sense when I was receiving it from the person who gave it to me. So you guys will not hear it from me, so I won't confuse you, right? You hear it from the person who used to give it to
So that means I need to break it down further so you can explain it to a 5-year-old.
Can you guys hear that? She already said it. She has already been gone. So yes, apparently that's explain to a 5-year-old. So maybe I'm the 6-year-old and the person is 5 because maybe
haven't you heard that just where if you cannot explain something to a 5-year-old, it means you don't really understand it.
I've heard that, but how do I want to explain equity to a 5-year-old? A 5-year-old don't understand it.
Honestly, if I had to explain equity to a 5-year-old, let me think about it. So I would say, imagine, like my daughter, for example, everybody knows my daughter wants to be the entrepreneur of the future. Mm-hmm. One of her business ideas is to have a milkshake stand. So, if she needs to buy bananas, she needs to buy milk, she needs to buy maybe ice. She can rent my blender for now, so we'll take that out of the cost equation. And so she needs money for these things, and maybe doesn't have the cash. So what I'll tell her is, I will give you the 1,000 naira it takes to start the business. However, I will own 20% of the business. She's 5. She might not understand what 20% means.
I was just about to say that.
So what I might now tell her now is that, look, for every 10 naira that you make, I own. What's 20% of 10 naira? 2 naira.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? So that way she can get a concept of, okay, for every 10, for every 100 she makes, I own 20. That's all. Simple.
Okay. So what does it mean for you to own 20% of someone's business?
It means that when the business turns, so if let's say the value of the business is 1 million naira, 20% is 200,000 naira. It means you own 200,000 naira of that business. It means that if you choose to sell your equity, if your business is worth 1 million naira, it will be bought for at least 200,000 naira.
Okay, but does it mean that I have to have put in 200,000 naira?
So there's many ways to invest. You can invest cash. Generally, well, as an entrepreneur personally, I prefer cash investors.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's also ways you can provide value to a business that is not cash. So, for example, there's this example I always refer to when I think of equity. When Facebook was not the Facebook we know, when it was still, a much younger company, this was back in 2007 or 2008, when not a lot of people knew. It wasn't even in Nigeria yet back then. Somebody painted their offices, and they didn't have the cash to pay because they didn't have money back then. So they offered the guy equity, and they gave him stock options or whatever. And years later, when they had an IPO, the guy became a millionaire off the equity. But there was a long gap between when they gave him the stock and when he cashed out too. So there's always a waiting period, especially with such early stage companies. But it is the kind that creates such jumps in financial status.
To be so quiet.
But that's for a company that is worth a lot. So not all equity is created equal. Okay. What I mean, for example, is if you're going to invest your time, so like me personally now, if I'm going to invest my time in a business and they're going to pay me with equity, it has to be a business that I believe can grow into something that is worth a lot. Because think about it, well, my time is worth a lot, number one. So if you're going to pay me 0 naira or $0 today, it better be for a promise of some solid money in 5 to 7 years. That will make me just be like, what? It's almost like I'm saving for the future. So that's it.
Okay, so speaking about equity, so equities are offered by investors, right?
So equity is a share in the business. Okay. So if an investor gives you cash, they can take a share of your business in exchange for the cash that they've given you as the entrepreneur.
Okay, so as an entrepreneur or a business owner, what are the things you think you should look out for in investors?
Like what kind of investors should you look
flags,
for?
Yeah,
red flags or what do you want?
Me too.
So you want there's something called value-added investors. You want investors that can give you more than money. So, for example, let's say you have a business that supplies maybe drinks. Maybe you've created a new juice that nobody else has. Find the kind of investor that can get you into grocery stores. The kind of investor that can help make you that has connections with hotels, so that maybe your products can be there. If you make soaps, I would want an investor that either has hotels or knows people that has hotels, works with schools, so a lot of places where they need soap, so that the person can give me money, fine, but also give me access to market, access to customers, so that investment can pay off faster. So that we can.
It's not just about money.
It's not just about. I mean, there are people that raise money and still fail. So you want the kind of investor that can help you succeed as quickly as possible. That's it for me. So even it can be that, or the person can help with maybe a skill set that you might not have. So let's say you might not be good with finance and the person is good with finance. Fine, the person can support with that.
Okay, what about, so is it every business that ends up having like investors and shares? Because I'm assuming that once you want to bring in investors and things, then you have to have like a
structure.
A structure, and then like a share, I don't know what it's called, but maybe like an agreement or something, or how many shares you want to.
Yes.
Okay.
So usually in Nigeria, as long as you're setting up a limited liability company, you need to set up a certain number of shares. I think the standard is 1 million shares. So every limited liability company has shares. And needs to have at least 2 directors.
Okay.
And I think it's CLC's way of trying to ensure that you create some structure, or at least you think about, to some degree, what structure you want to have. However, if you do a business name or a regular business registration, it's basically a source of proprietorship, so you don't need to have shares.
Okay.
So with a limited liability company, then with your two directors, they usually ask you how many shares go to which director or the other director.
Okay.
So when you're bringing in shares are just basically a piece of a pie, right? So whereas the 1 million shares shows the 100%, and then 10% is 100,000 shares, and so on and so forth. Oh, did I answer your question? Not yet.
Well, to a degree. So yeah, if I just did like a business name registration, then I don't have any reason necessarily to go into the whole shares and then things.
Yes,
right?
you don't have to think. So to be honest, I remember when I started Mumspring, it was a business name because I was just testing out the concept. I wasn't sure if I wanted to make the commitment to do a company limited by shares yet. So I did a business name, and then after about a year, I realized, okay, this was something that was basically my MVP. I felt like, wow, this is something I can really do and can really grow into something huge. Then I went and established it as a limited liability company with shares and a shareholding structure.
Okay, so quick one. If I just did like a business name registration, right, then could I poach investors?
Approach investors? Yeah, you can approach investors, but a seasoned investor would probably ask you to go and register it as a limited liability company because they would want to be sure that you are beyond that too, because a sole proprietorship is kind of tied to you, just an extension of you. Whereas a limited liability company in the structure is not you, is a separate legal entity from the individual. Okay. And usually when you want to invest in something, you're not putting money directly in the person. Even for your taxes, if you have a business name, the business name's taxes is tied to the individual. Whereas for a limited liability company, it's a separate document, separate filing, separate account, separate everything. So it's as an investor, you want to invest in something that is limited by shares because it even offers you more protection. And even as the entrepreneur too, because if I invest in you as a sole proprietor, it means that if you owe me money, I can come after you, your car, your house, everything that you own as a person. Because the sole proprietorship is just an extension of you. If you're limited liability, I can only come after the assets business of the limited liability company. So it actually protects the entrepreneur.
Okay.
Two of them.
Or like when people say that their business is broke, well then they're not broke. So it's
not
like,
necessarily.
okay.
It's just like Donald Trump. Do you know how many times he filed bankruptcy?
Sure.
But he's not broke.
Sure, okay. That has been quite insightful. So now what's the difference between, so I've heard equity funding and then I've heard debt, so equity financing.
Yes.
And I've heard debt financing.
Yes.
Then you just mentioned one that sounds very bougie. Quasi-equity.
Somewhere in between equity and debt.
Is that English?
Quasi is like semi. Kind of.
They didn't just feel like calling it semi. No problem. Okay, so what's the difference between all three?
So equity is basically shares in the company. So the person now is a co-owner of the company. So even if they have 0.11%, they have a share in the company. And 0.11% can be a lot of money depending on the value of the whole company. And then debt is basically usually, for example, I borrowed you 100,000 naira. The interest rate is 10% over a year. So by the end of 1 year, you need to pay me 100,000 naira plus my interest of 10%, which is 10,000 naira. So total due to me is 110,000 naira. In the equity case, I can give you 100,000 naira and you say, okay, fine, I'm giving you 1% of my company for 100,000 naira. And in 5 years' time, the company really blows like crazy. And so the company is now worth, let's say, 100 million naira. That my 1% just became 1 million. Yeah.
So
the
when
upside for equity is unlimited.
Okay, so when someone owns equity or when someone owns shares in a company, right? To a particular percentage, it is the percentage of what the company is worth
that they have. Yes, anything that the company is worth, up or down.
So if the company is worth 200 naira now, and you have
1%, you have 2 naira.
And then if it's now worth
200 million, yeah.
Oh, so what about people whose shares are not percentage, but it's like
a number of shares.
Yeah,
Usually
a number or an amount.
Yes. So let's say you have, for example, like I said, for example, let's say most people, when they register their company, they have 1 million shares. And then they tell you, and you find out that you're told you have 100,000 shares. 100,000 divided by 1 million is 10%. So you have 10% of the company. Or if it's an amount like $10,000, usually there's a valuation for the company. So let's say, for example, that the company is worth $1 million. That $10,000 is essentially 1%, of the company. So it's just a matter of running the numbers to figure out if it's a percentage, but you can represent it in units of shares, percentage of company, or the dollar value at the particular time. So when is the dollar value? So let's say today the valuation of the company is ₦1 million and they give you 10,000 naira in shares. That's what it's worth when they give it to you in 2020. And then in 5 years, when there's going to be a certain number of units of stock that represents. In 5 years, those units of stock, even though in 2020 their value was 10,000 naira, it's very likely that their value will not be the same. That 10,000 naira of 2020 of that same company, because the company is now worth maybe 10 times more, that 10,000 naira is now going to be worth maybe 100,000. So you can sell your 10,000 naira shares that you bought, whether with your time or with your money, for 100,000 naira in 5 years.
Okay. Yeah. Final question for me. When you're buying, I've heard people say that if someone wants to invest in your company and the person wants 50%, that you should run away. Or if an investor says they want 50% and I as a business owner agree, that the investor should run away. Why?
It depends. So many times, if I'm going to invest in a company, I want to invest in an entrepreneur that I believe is going to keep working on the company. And if it's the very early stage, maybe it's the entrepreneur's first or second round, and they're ready to give away half, it will make me question why they're so eager to give away half. Because if they're likely going to keep looking for funding, it means that if they're ready to give away half now, that means that maybe by the next round they might own maybe just 10-15%. Maybe there's something really wrong with the company, or they don't believe it's going to work. And if they don't believe it's going to work, why should I put my money behind them?
I've also heard something different about this. I said like business owners should have that mind to be ready to sell off their business and start a new one.
There's nothing wrong with exiting your business, start a new one. But many people who have exited still have shares in the business. So for example, let's say your business has only made 100,000 naira in revenue, and somebody now offers you ₦1 million, so you feel like that's a lot of money. So you give them 50%. So they take the 50%, and then in 6 months, the company starts to make 10 billion. Do you know you sold too soon? You just shafted yourself. You should have sold for like maybe 10%, not 50%. So you don't want to underprice yourself. And then also you want to give your employees equity. So if you're giving one investor that gave you just a little bit of money to get through the next 12 months, 50%, your employees that are working in day out, they don't get any equity. But they're supposed to.
So you should have equity. So you should have equity for your employees.
You should create an employee stock program, because it incentivizes employees, just like the founder, to look at the big picture.
Okay.
Different founders will do it differently. But abroad, for example, they might even offer you maybe once you're done with like your first 3 to 6 months, just so that you're focused on making sure that, because if everybody benefits from the value of the company growing, then everybody will be focused on increasing the value of the company, because we all make money in the process.
That's true.
So even as a founder, that's wisdom.
That's true. Okay, guys, that is it for this segment of investment.
Why do I have a feeling that Michelle is going to bring this back and drill me further? But it's okay. I'm going to let it go for now.
I definitely will. That's it for this part, which I tagged investment for dummies. I mean, we're not dummies, but as all the books say, just
gotta break it down sometimes.
Yeah. I hope that really helped somebody who's listening today. If you want to start your business and you're worried about financing and which type of financing to do, debt or equity, I hope this shed a bit more light. We shall be back for the next segment with
the founder of a growth equity fund and who also happens to be a mom. Stay tuned. All right. On today's episode of the Mumspring Show, we've got a guest that I'm particularly excited about, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. Her name is Adesuwa Okunbo Rhodes. She has more than 11 years of investment banking, private equity, and structured credit experience in developed and emerging markets from global institutions. Adesuwa spent 5 years as managing partner of Syntaxis Capital Africa, a provider of growth capital to SMEs in Nigeria and across sub-Saharan Africa. Syntaxis Africa was part of Syntaxis Capital, a private equity active fund in other emerging markets with 300 million in assets under management from global institutional investors. At Syntaxis, she led transactions totaling more than $200 million across sub-Saharan Africa. Prior to co-founding Syntaxis Africa in 2014, she was in the leverage finance and M&A teams at JP Morgan in London, where she was involved in transactions worth over $5 billion across emerging markets, including Nigeria. Prior to JP Morgan, she worked in an Africa-focused fund, TLG Capital, as an investment professional. And she personally invested and generated very attractive returns during her time at TLG Capital. And part of those returns is what funded the establishment of Aruwa Capital, the fund that she's founded and we're going to talk more about today. She was named an Agent of Impact in 2019 by Impact Alpha for her commitment to gender equality in private equity and across the society through Aruwa Capital's investments. She started her career at Lehman Brothers and holds a BSc in economics from the University of Bristol and currently sits on a number of boards in Nigeria, including Wells Hosa Greenhouse Farms and Wells Carlton Hotel and Luxury Apartments. Wow, we're going to be in good company today. So, I'm particularly excited about this interview because she's both a founder and a funder. So she founded a business, and the business is focused on funding businesses. So this is amazing what she's doing. She's also a mother, so super inspiring. So we'll be right back and we can learn more from her. And we're back. We've got Adesuwa right here. And it's amazing to have you. Thank you for making time out, Adesuwa.
Thank you for having me.
And I know you just had a baby. How many months old?
Yes, Samuel just turned 4 months.
Wow, congratulations. How are the early days?
Thanks.
Are you getting any sleep?
Well, we thought we had him into quite a good routine, and he was waking up just once to feed. But now he's entered this 4-month sleep regression, which has lasted for about 2 weeks now. So yes, not getting much sleep. He's waking up every hour, every 2 hours.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it's been pretty interesting. That combined with how busy we are as well,
right?
Fun. So
wow.
So yeah, I'm pretty sleep deprived right now.
Well, good luck with that, and I hope it passes soon and he goes back to his routine.
Yes, fingers crossed. We're hoping it will pass in the next couple of weeks.
We're hoping for the best here too. So today, so usually what we do is we focus on a founder of a business, but yours is really interesting because you're a founder of the fund, but also a funder of other founders or other businesses. And what led to this? What inspired this?
Well, I guess I've always kind of worked for others, as it were. I was kind of, I started my career in investment banking and went on to private equity, where I was headhunted to help start a new business. So I think that kind of helped spur my entrepreneurial juices, if you were, because I was tasked to build a new business within an established private equity fund. So it was kind of a soft landing to entrepreneurship.
That makes sense.
Because within that fund, we were building a new business and we were essentially, entrepreneurs in our own right in that way. because we were leveraging, our existing relationships to originate transactions, leveraging our existing relationships to, to attract investors. But we had, the institutional backing and the brand of an existing fund. So I think that kind of whet my appetite, and the fact that I was essentially running a business with a team, and and the transition to Aruwa was kind of a smoother one. Obviously, removing that institutional backing, but knowing that I could do it, and knowing that we had already achieved what we set out to do in building the business. So yeah, that was it was kind of a soft landing. It's kind of how I got here, and kind of what spurred my kind of vision and passion for Aruwa is, as a woman, running that business, and I saw the challenges that I faced, and looking to raise capital and looking to attract capital, and I guess it's kind of spurred my ambitions, if you will, to do what I could to help other women that I know are in a similar position, that are struggling to raise capital just because of their gender. If you put me, not to toot my own horn or anything, but with my track record, if I was a man and if I was a different color, I think maybe I would have raised my fund a little bit quicker. So that also spurred my desire to try and help other women that I know have great ideas, have unique perspectives, but are just, struggling to get empowered because they don't look or sound a certain way.
Right.
So that was the vision for Aruwa, is how do we foster this next generation of women entrepreneurs by being active capital allocators and decision makers, and increasing the proportion of female decision makers and female capital allocators in Africa, so that virtuous cycle can be reinforced with women, at the helm, if you will.
Right. And now that you're a capital allocator and you successfully raised the fund, do you find that you're getting the right opportunities to investing, or has that been challenging?
Yeah, so I think for me, I don't get lost on the identity of the founder.
Yeah.
I think a big thing for us is we want to empower women across all levels of society.
Correct.
And the way to do that is to make sure that we're not getting lost on the identity of the founder. We need to make sure that we're looking for businesses that impact women, full stop, whether it's a male-owned business or whether it's a female-owned business. So yes, we are coming across, very interesting opportunities that help to fulfill the objectives that we set out at Aruwa, which is this business providing employment opportunities for women? Is this business bringing women from the informal to the formal sectors in terms of job creation? And is this business providing a good or service that helps to improve the lives of women? So our first investment, which is a company called Wemi Industries, manages to tick both boxes. It provides employment opportunities for women, and it also manufactures locally hygiene products that help to improve the lives of women. So it helps to it manufactures sanitary pads, it manufactures net maternity pads. It also manufactures adult diapers, which is actually used quite frequently in the north by women that suffer from VVF because of early circumcision. So that's a business where we are very, very excited that through our investment we'll be increasing capacity of the business to help manufacture more of these products to that would help benefit women in rural areas in northern Nigeria. But also because of their supply chain and the fact that most of their distributors, or some of their distributors, are also women, we're also helping to spur, female entrepreneurship through their supply chain as well, and increase that number through our investment.
So basically, so this one investment, you're able to essentially help multiple female entrepreneurs and multiple women across the country.
In society. Amazing. Exactly. And that's something that's important to us, is, I think some other people will say they want to back, women founders, but not necessarily look at how that business is
impacting women at large.
Exactly. So I think for us to really maximize the impact we want to make on women, we're not getting lost on the founder. We want to just make sure that the business itself is, maximizing the impact on women across all levels. Because we provide growth capital, our capital is typically quite transformative to the businesses that we back. It's typically taking them from one level past the inflection point of their growth. So we can be very influential to make sure that transformation that comes through our capital helps to maximize the impact on women. So we're very excited about that investment, and we have others in our pipeline that across other sectors such as technology, such as healthcare, that are also poised to maximize the impact on women as well.
Right. So just for listeners who might not be very finance savvy, what do you mean by growth equity?
So it's essentially, backing businesses that are established. So businesses that have proven their business model, that have been running for a number of years, and are just looking for that capital to scale up. So it's not seed capital. It's not early stage capital. It's capital that they already have a route to market. They already have existing customers. They're already selling their product. They just need extra capital to help meet the pent-up demand that they've already managed to create. So that's why it's called growth capital, because it's capital that helps them to grow and helps them to realize that next stage of development in their growth trajectory. And that's why I said that type of capital is very, very transformative to these businesses, because it's typically taking them from one level to the next. And it's, we say it's growth equity because we're typically taking a stake in this business, in terms of an equity stake in this business, where we come in as partners to help them realize that objective. So we always say that we invest, we operate, and then we empower, because we're providing more than just that growth capital that we give to them. We're also providing operational expertise. Our team is made up of, transaction people, and also made up of operators that have run businesses. So we have a lot of value that we can bring in terms of their processes, their systems, their decision-making, helping to institutionalize the business so that, again, we can maximize that impact that we have that's in line with our objectives at Aruwa as well.
Wow. And so now that you're running your own fund, what would you say is the biggest challenge?
I would say just prioritizing, being a mother, being a founder, being a manager. Mm-hmm. It's I would say the biggest challenge that I have is just being able to prioritize and make sure that I'm maximizing every second and every hour in terms of productivity. I would say prioritizing is a challenge, and it's one that I would say that anyone else in my position will have to do. Having to make those split decisions on a daily basis as to where I should allocate my time is definitely a challenge. But thank God, by the grace of God, and through the strength that the Holy Spirit provides, I'm able to just take one day at a time to make sure that we are hitting our objectives on the company, and also that I'm giving enough time to my son, and also giving enough time to my husband as well. It's just prioritizing really, and knowing when to say no to those things that aren't productive.
Isn't it interesting how I'm sure there was a phase in your life where you're like, I wish I was getting more opportunities or more requests for things, and now you're getting so many requests, and you're like, well, I need to prioritize and focus, because I've got enough on my plate. That's how life evolves.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So, one more question. If there's someone who maybe is starting out in investment banking, or maybe studying finance right now and is thinking down the line one day, I'd like to be a capital allocator, or maybe she's an entrepreneur and she's thinking one day I'd like to start my own fund. What are some lessons you learned in the process of raising your own fund and running your own fund now for years that you can that you would say she should look out for, or that she should expect along the way?
I would say that from my own experience, I would say don't limit your ambitions. I would say, be audacious, be ambitious. People may think that you are crazy. People may think that you are arrogant or even thinking that. But I think that once you have something laid on your heart that's a dream or a vision, be very, very persistent in wanting to achieve that and bring it to fruition. It's not going to come with it's not going to be easy. It's going to come with its own challenges. But I would say start small, know the objective, be audacious and have the long-term vision in your mind. And, just be in it for the long term and make sure that you're doing something that drives meaning and purpose in, to you personally, but also for the legacy and the impact that you want to make. Because when those challenges come, you need to be very, very sure of your why. Because that's the only thing that's going to keep you going. So I would say that would be my, I guess in a nutshell, is be audacious, be sure of your vision and be very, very persistent in wanting to achieve it. But be very, very conscious that there will be challenges. So you need to know what is the purpose and what is the reason that you are doing this. Because if it's only you that it's impacting, I'm sure that you will quit. So make sure that it's helping you personally, but it's also helping to leave a mark in terms of a legacy, and it's driving a larger mission, because that's what will keep you going. I would say that those would be my things that are my nuggets if I could.
Wow. I feel like I have to go back and listen to that personally. Because I think every entrepreneur, whether you're trying to be a capital allocator or anything else, can learn a lot from that. The bigger vision is what's going to keep you going. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much. We won't keep you too long so you can get back to Samuel. Thank you so much for your time and for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to speak to you. And good luck with everything that you're doing with Mumsprings. It's definitely a great platform for, mums to just inspire and motivate each other. Because we have a lot on our plate. So it's always good to know that there's someone else out there experiencing the same thing. So thank you for the invitation. And thank you for having me. Congratulations on this platform.
Thank you, Adesuwa. That means a lot. You take care now.
Thank you, Abisola. Bye.
Bye. That was a very informative conversation with Adesuwa. I hope you all learned a lot about following your dreams and staying true to them even as they get challenging, because it will be challenging. People will call you crazy and maybe a little arrogant for your big dreams. But then when you make it reality, you become the one that's celebrated. So stick with it.
On that note, guys, we've come to the end of another episode on the Mumspring Show. I really hope that each and every one of you who has listened to this episode has gained something. On that note, I can say we're signing out. Don't forget to follow us on social media for updates. We are at Mumspring HQ, and Bisola is at the Bisola on Instagram, and I am mish.gram. Don't spell out the dots, just put full stop. That's it. And on that note, guys, see you next time.